Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Happy Wednesday, January 17th. We got a lot to talk about today. The Chiefs and the Bills. It's the first road game for Patrick Mahomes in his history to play in the playoffs away against Josh Allen and the Bills. It's a lot going on. We're going to dial all the way down through a lot with Nick Sirianni, Jason Kelsey, all the way down to even Caitlin Clark passing Brittany Griner as a point leader of all time. I believe it's fifth or fourth around there. We'll get all into that. Let's welcome the co-host to the show, the guy we love, face for radio, and my man, guys, Brent Chapman. Here we are, Brent. Here we are.
You know, Brandon, I was on a business call yesterday, and this is my second meeting with the guy, and the guy says to me, you know, after I got off the last call, you really sounded like somebody that I remembered, and I've been racking my brain trying to figure it out. And he goes, and I just figured it out. You sound like Seth Rogen.
Dude.
I'm like, all right, Brandon Mason would love to hear that right about now.
Hey, you're torn between sounding like Seth Rogen and Howard Stern. I'm serious. If you listen to Howard Stern, which is a massive compliment because he's one of the biggest voices in all radio.
He's the greatest radio personality of all time, whether you like him or not. What he achieved is incredible, and I cannot be compared to him. Seth Rogen, I'm okay with being compared to, but not Howard Stern. Howard Stern is the GOAT of broadcasting.
Hey, listen, you're right there. You sound just like him if you ask me. And I am thankful to have you on the show. So, listen, it's Wednesday. It's hump day. A lot of people watching right now want to hear some fun, some comedy, some entertainment because they're just trying to get through their week. Interest rates going up and down, people moving around, school's taking a toll on people. So we're going to give them some interesting facts today and talk about a lot. But most important, I see you got your Buffalo shirt on, I believe.
This is the Anchor Bar, the official Anchor Bar in Buffalo. Do you know what the Anchor Bar is, Brandon? Have you ever been there?
I've never even seen that before.
The Anchor Bar in Buffalo is the home of buffalo wings. They created buffalo wings. This is correct.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. And there was a coffee shop. Listen, when I went to Buffalo, there was a coffee shop too. I couldn't find a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts and it was a coffee shop in Buffalo. I can't remember the name of it. But it was everywhere. And then they had...
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons. That's it. Tim Hortons, man. It was everywhere I went. It was like, we don't have that, but we have Tim Hortons. I said...
Tim Hortons is the best, bro.
I wanted to get
You can buy Tim Hortons coffee. I'm not drinking Tim Hortons coffee right now, but I often do.
Hey, it's better than that. I got my coffee right here. Till we pull it up here just in case I need to get
where's your... by the way, as a follow-up, I have not received my Yeti mug in the mail yet. I'm still waiting.
You know what? Speaking of that, before we go into the Bills and the Chiefs, you do have a Yeti mug that's coming, and I have another one coming too with a different color. I was told Yeti's supposed to be providing some great stuff.
Is mine new, or are you re-gifting your Yeti mug to me and then getting a fresh one for yourself?
Yours is
that what's happening here?
Let's go on to Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs. And Brent, you know, you said this, and I didn't know this. You brought this up a couple days ago, and you said, this is Patrick Mahomes' first game on the road in the playoffs,
Correct.
Not playing in Arrowhead Stadium, not having his home crowd. He's playing away in Buffalo. I think, even though the Chiefs had played better last week, I think that's going to be a big concern playing on the road. You're a Bills fan, obviously. You're a Josh Allen fan. What do you think about Patrick Mahomes playing on the road against your Buffalo Bills in the playoff matchup?
I don't think it matters where he plays, frankly. But I will give you some interesting statistics. Mahomes and Allen have played 6 times. They're 3-3. 5 of those games were in Arrowhead. So they've played 6 times, and 5 were in Kansas City.
Not bad for Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is 3-1 against Mahomes in the regular season and 0-2 in the playoffs. And the only time, now this is interesting, Mahomes has played in Buffalo one time, and the only time that he won, and the only time he played in Buffalo, guess what? There was no fans in the stands.
Right.
It was during COVID. So he played in an empty Buffalo stadium. So this is going to be his 12th playoff game, or is going for his 12th victory. He's going to be going in to Buffalo with fans in the stands. He's a pro, dude. This isn't going to bother him. I think people are making the statistics are interesting, but the actual outcome on the game, I don't see that having much to do with Mahomes. What I'm more concerned about is they announced the ref assignments yesterday as well.
Yeah.
And Buffalo drew Sean Hockley. Do you remember Ed Hockley, the ref that looked like Brandon Mason?
Here we go.
He was more interested in his physique than he was in getting calls right.
Yeah.
Well, his son has a history of screwing the Bills. So he reffed the game in Philly a couple weeks ago where there were 5 calls against the Bills at the end of the game that cost them the game in Philly. And more importantly, he called 2 penalties on Philly and 12 against Buffalo. So they may have home field advantage, but Mahomes has home ref advantage.
Well, listen, and everything you just said is true. Here's my concern, right? Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Pacheco, I love that combination of players. I do think they're missing a receiver. I think that for a Super Bowl, even Josh Allen and the Chiefs, this is like a Super Bowl matchup. These are 2 of the best teams in the National Football League for sure. I think the Chiefs are missing a big-time receiver, and that's the only thing holding them back a little bit. But the Bills, at this point, have lost multiple players, and there's some injuries. Dude, both teams have injuries.
They have 7 defensive starters. 7 that are probable. Just so everyone knows, there's only 11 on the field. So there's 7 that are injured and might not play.
And
that's not good.
Probable is not a good way to spin it. Probable going into a playoff game, Brent, versus Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Probable is not what people want right now. The only benefit, the only thing going for them that's even stronger is home field advantage. I got to tell you, the Bills fans are great. That game that we just watched, obviously they won, beating the Steelers. They made it more fun. I mean, throwing snowballs during touchdowns. I mean, the Bills fans are the real deal.
Dude, this scene is incredible, like with the snow flying up in the air. You notice how there's a difference? I was talking to somebody about this the other day. There's a difference in fan base, sort of the spirit of the fan base. Yep. You have these fan bases that are very angry and you owe them and boo if you miss a shot, right? Yep. And there's others that are just so happy that you play there and they'll support you whether you're bad or good. They're throwing snow in the air. And Philly, they would have been throwing snow at the players. They would have been putting ice on the snow and throwing ice balls at the players. Like,
you're right.
There's such a different spirit, and you're right. I am a Bills Mafia guy. But the point is that you're right. It is not just Bills. There are teams across the league where the spirit of the fan base, Green Bay is very similar too, where it's just very positive, and they just really appreciate what's going on in front of them and not booing when Giannis misses a free throw.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being hit, Brent, okay, and we're getting into a second what I want to say about that, but speaking of being hit, but before I talk about the helmet piece that came out and why I want to go back to that, these coaches, why this is important, you have McDermott, right? Sean McDermott, Andy Reid. These are 2 of the best coaches in football right now. And so I believe this matchup with the Bills and the Chiefs is more than Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Travis Kelce, right? I think this is more realistically about the coaching. I think the coaches have to come correct. I think they will. Right. I think what you saw last week was the Chiefs showed up. They had great coaching, a great game plan. They won convincingly. The Bills showed up. They had great coaching. They had great players. I think the Steelers were lacking quarterback gameplay a little bit, even though Mason Rudolph didn't play bad. They're lacking a little bit of camaraderie, lacking a little bit of leadership. And Josh Allen obviously is a clear leader, running for touchdowns, passing. I mean, it's just very hard. But these two coaches are going to be, it's going to be like a heavyweight bout with these two. I think people have to understand, Brent. But going into that, I apologize about that. We'll get to that in a second. The clip I want to show you is right behind here. Howard, pull it up for me real quick. The picture. Okay, now.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay, look, we saw this already, right? We know that the helmet piece, we know this came out, but the company is called 02. 02 is the type of helmet or the model, the company name, whatever.
Visus is the helmet manufacturer. 02 might own them, or maybe that's the
correct.
Name of the
No, that's correct.
The brand.
Visus 02. Now, what they said was it did the trick. Yeah, it busted off in these temperatures, and 02, this should have been 010 because it was negative 10 degrees or something like that. So 02 should go to 010 because this was a little, it covered him. He was fine, But Patrick Mahomes is a tough cookie. Didn't really give a shit about the damn helmet. I don't think anybody did, really. It's like, it's playoff football. Let's win, and he got it done. But, Brent, with
the outer
respect
shell
to
isn't
Patrick Mahomes,
the outer shell is not what protects your head.
Right.
So I believe, and I'm not an expert in this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that bike helmets are designed to break on impact, right?
Yep.
The way they're built, like if you hit hard, they're designed to break, and that's what protects your head, right?
Yep.
So I think that's what Visus was trying to imply, that it did its job.
Yeah,
meaning
that's what it was.
that it protected his head, and that it's okay that the outer shell breaks. Right? That's not what's important. What's important is does it protect his head? And I think that, and knowing a little bit about bicycle helmets, and I believe that's true. I'd love somebody who bikes. I'm sure we don't have a lot of bikers listening to our show. But if we did, I would love for them to weigh in on that. But I believe that's the case with these protective gear. It's just to protect your head. It may break, it may fracture. That doesn't mean that it didn't do what it was intended to do.
So what do you got here? Realistically, let's go into more of the gameplay, the style, Brent. When I watch Patrick Mahomes line up and I watch Josh Allen line up, I'm not worried about them at all. They are leaders. They are players. They're warriors. When I watch people like Tua, I watch people like Jalen Hurts, and we're going to get that tomorrow, Mac Jones, the Alabama connection rolled in, and it seems like they're rolling out, like roll tide, and I hate to say that, but it's like roll out because they're just not becoming the leaders. I like Tua a lot, but as a leader, vocal, on the field, maybe in the locker room they're handling that role better, which we can't see, but on the field, Josh Allen is a leader. Hands down. Patrick Mahomes, you see it in his face. You see it in his grit. He's tough. And I got to tell you, watch him run that first. It was like a little goofy to me. It was kind of like goofy. The guy's unbelievable, right? He's arguably the GOAT right now. Tom Brady was there. Right. Tom Brady's gone. Patrick Mahomes puts it on his back, just like you said.
That's right.
Just like you said, Josh Allen puts it on his back. I expect them to run the ball, set up play action, hit the receivers, and I expect those two quarterbacks to get outside the pockets, get first downs, whether it's cold or not. They're diving for first downs, sliding for first downs, breaking tackles. Josh Allen is like a tight end. When he catches the ball, when he runs the ball, gets out the pocket, he's like catching a pass with a tight end and breaking tackles. That's what you're seeing him do, and people need to hit him. If he goes to slide or not slide, if you get a penalty, so what? You got to hit Josh Allen because if you don't, he's going to do what we saw against the Steelers, run for 52-yard touchdowns.
That's right. I think that this game is interesting to me because both teams in the last few years, going back 3 years, 2 years, these were heavyweight fights in the playoffs, right? I mean, one of the greatest games of all time was a few years ago in the playoffs where they scored like 40 points in 5 minutes. I'm exaggerating, but it was a lot. Here's both teams are down this year, Brandon. I think we can both agree on that, right? The Chiefs aren't the Chiefs of the last couple of years. The Bills have had their moments. They have their moments in games where you're like, what the heck, right? I mean, just really stupid things happen and they keep games close that shouldn't be close. I mean, they even gave the Steelers a chance to come back in that game on Monday. And so I don't know where this game will go, but I believe that it will be incredibly close. And I think either team is not what they were. And I think either team has the potential to show up and lay an egg or come out and be great. Right. And I think that's what, and if they're both great or they're both laying an egg, then it'll be a very close game. But I suspect that home field doesn't matter. I think the refs are more important. I hope they just call a game right down the middle, and we'll see how it goes. But I think it's going to be incredibly close. And I think one team should show early that they've got a little momentum. I really, really worry about the Bills' injuries. I mean, I just don't know that you can go against Patrick Mahomes missing half your starters on defense. I mean, that seems like a really hard task. And
well,
by the way, one more thing I want to add about missing half their starters on defense. Those aren't the starters. Those are the starters from last week. They're already missing All-Pro, Pro Bowl linebacker Matt Milano, Pro Bowl cornerback Tre'Davious White. They're already missing those guys. They don't even count because they've been gone for half a season.
So the Chiefs are playing the backups.
They're playing Damar Hamlin. He died on the field, and he's taking snaps.
He's in the game.
He played more snaps. He played more snaps against the Steelers than he played the whole regular season. I mean, they had guys that were on their Winnebago on their way to Florida in the game.
Hats
They were on their way to visit Brandon Mason in one of his 7 houses.
Yeah, right. But like you just said, Brent, you're worried about them with the thing. And I got to tell you, this, like I just said, this is the main event. This is, people don't understand. During the season, you know, we're going to get into the Cowboys in a minute. Yeah, they win games. Mike McCarthy, they win games. They have good players. They win games. A lot of teams, the Eagles, they come in, they win games. Your coach is very important. I think people are starting to realize even more, invest in your coach. Invest in your coach, which is why you're seeing now Patriots. People are, you know, Bill Belichick's gone. People are looking at Bill Belichick, 72 years old or 74 years old, however old he is. He's still a quarterback, he's still a coach that people want. They still want him because he is that damn good. And this is going to be a matchup, Josh Allen, right? Patrick Mahomes, and it's going to be Sean McDermott and Andy Reid, and those coaching with their quarterbacks, keep them up and going. It's going to be cold, right? It's been cold now for weeks. It's not going to be you're in Miami running around with palm trees. It's going to be you're in a cold weather climate. You're playing in New York. You're playing in Buffalo. You're not, and now there's going to be Chiefs fans there. Not like Arrowhead Stadium. It's going to be a Buffalo Bills home game. They're going to have more people at this game than in a long time. It's Josh Allen's head-to-head. They're 3-3. And right now, I got to tell you, I'm taking the Bills. I like the Chiefs, and the reason why I like the Chiefs is because I like Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I like Pacheco. Pacheco is the only reason in this game why I believe they'll beat the Bills, because they're backup on defense. They're having issues. If Pacheco gets off early in this game, the Chiefs are going to win. I can tell you that. But I like the Bills at home. I like Josh Allen. I like the camaraderie. I like what he brings to the table. And, Brent, not for nothing, my co-host of the show is a Bills fan. So even if you don't pick the Bills. I appreciate
that, Brandon. I may have to go to New York on Monday for a business meeting, so I may just make a stopover on Sunday and swing by the stadium. I'll keep you posted on that. But if I have to go out that way, we might be having a layover in Buffalo.
Hey,
and maybe I can get in. Maybe I can get in the suite with Taylor Swift. Yeah. You know, I can have a little. Maybe I can get her on the show, Brandon. We can do a live remote interview with Taylor Swift.
Hey, with the new iPhone 15, you could zoom all the way in and be right next to Taylor Swift at any given time.
I'm going to selfie with her right here. That's what I'm going to do.
Listen,
live on the Brandon Mason Show.
I like what I'm seeing from the coaching staff. And Brent, speaking of coaches, Nick Sirianni, Listen, they haven't fired him yet, so it's good news because it got to was, Black Monday, and then you had coaches being let go and tossed around and new people coming in, and he's still there. So I don't know if it's pressing toward, obviously, him coming back and not leaving. And you know what? I'm not blaming him for all the things. I started to blame Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts. I told this a million times. He's also to blame, but Nick Sirianni should have gotten his ass and said, listen, get your ass out there, get your team fired up. But this is what some of the fans thought.
You're done, Nick. You're done.
Okay, now.
Oh, now we're talking about fans. Here we go.
This is a viral clip. Viral clip. This guy thinks he's going to throw the popcorn on Nick Sirianni, and then I'm out of here. And they said, no, you're not out of here. Here comes security chasing after this fan.
They went after.
Or
they
maybe
went
he's no
after
longer a
him
fan.
Fast. That's not even stadium security, is it? That is Eagle. Is that Eagles security that went after that guy?
That's the thing, right? They're an away game, and so the Chiefs fans are like, whatever, right? You're throwing popcorn at Nick Sirianni. It's not our coach.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Kansas City fans, but if I'm correct, they're that positive fan, right? They're encouraging, they're excited about their team. The Eagles are the ones that are throwing beer or popcorn on their coach as he walks off the field, right? Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous. So Nick Sirianni just completed his third year with the team. He had a great year last year and the start of a great year this year. They're not going to fire him. I think they'll give him one more year. I think if they start out terrible next year, he won't make it through the season.
It'll be like this.
He'll get fired early on. But I think they will give him a opportunity to course correct. But I mean, he's going to be on the hot seat going into the offseason. 1-6 to end the season is not great.
I'm blaming Jalen Hurts. I hate to say that. Halfway through the season, when they lost a game or two, I blamed it on lack of emotion. Then I said, you know what? He's checked out. And I even did a quick clip uploaded on here, thousands of views. Jalen Hurts has checked out. I don't know if they should look into him. I don't know if they should evaluate him, his mental state. And I'm being really serious when I say this. I'm not saying this for any kind of views or any kind of shit like that. I'm being serious. I think Jalen Hurts has checked out. And I don't think he wants to play anymore. I don't think he wants to play in Philly. I don't think he wants to play football anymore. He's got a great contract. I know that he loves sports. But I really think they should look into Jalen Hurts a little bit more because there's no quarterback in the National Football League that walks around like that. Now, if he throws a touchdown pass, he doesn't celebrate. He wants to be professional, like I've been saying. Hey, let's not rub it in. That's one thing. Hey, let's go. Did it. Next one. I'm with that. But
dude, when the starting tight end
looks seven,
when the starting tight end looks at you during the game and goes, "Whatever, dude."
Yeah.
He's because he knows he's checked out. It doesn't even. I mean, that is when you do that. You could see that tape. When you do that, that is this guy doesn't care. This guy's checked out. Whatever.
And then we go on to Jason Kelce, who obviously is retiring, and the reason why he's on here again in conversation because before every single tush push, okay, and Devon brought that to attention. He's in the chat right now. Brought it to attention.
He can't read defenses, no audibles, hot reads, no adjustments. Here's what I don't get, Devon. And Brandon, love for you to weigh in on this too. My son is 12 years old, 13 almost, and is a very good quarterback prospect. And he calls his own audibles. He can read defenses. He makes it through the second, third, and fourth read. He knows how to read hot routes. How can a guy that played at Alabama and in the pros not do that? Is it the speed of the game, Brandon? What is it that causes that? Or was he just never able to do it and he just relied on
You're talking about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Is it just that he...
Well, first, hold on. I'm going to talk about that. Before I talk about Jalen Hurts and finish that, I want to say something about Jason Kelce real quick because, listen, Brent, Jason Kelce comes up to the line of scrimmage. He's the center, and people that don't watch football don't understand that center looks at the linebacker core, and he calls out the Mike linebacker, and that's how all the reads start. If you lose your center going into next season, that's a big deal. That's a learning curve. That's where the Eagles bring a new center in, another guy. Jason Kelce is the centerfold of that offense. A lot of people that aren't big-time football people, stats or details, any of that, you got to understand. He comes out, he lines up by the ball, he looks around, he calls out the Mike linebacker, who's the middle linebacker of the defense, and then people around him, your guards, your tackles, can decide on what's working with the offensive line in the matchup, who they're blocking. That is the center that Jalen Hurts has, who's been operating and should be in a Super Bowl, or last year and this year should have went further. Now, Jalen Hurts is supposed to be able to read defenses as well and make calls and do that. And I think he did it in Alabama and Oklahoma. He did fine. And he got Tua jumped in. We talked about that. I think Jalen Hurts was good, and he was gifted all through college, even into the pros. I just think this year he's checked out. And now the center has checked out in a good way, retiring. But what I was going to say, Brent, what I wanted to say is, before every single tush push, Devon in the chat brought this to my attention, and he said, look, he said, F my life. Before every single tush push play where the Eagles ran that play, he said, F my life, and they ran his play so many times where basically, Jalen Hurts is running right behind him into his back and pushing, he's pushing him on his back, and it's like, literally imagine that, Brent. Imagine you're in the centerfold of that as the center, and you're getting pushed against the defense. I mean, I get F my life in that play, right? And that's what Jason Kelce was. He was a warrior, and I think they're going to miss a lot with him gone. And then Jalen Hurts checking out, and now they have the coach, Sirianni, which might not be there, or maybe he is, and they don't know. The Eagles are in shambles. A.J. Brown doesn't want to be there. He's been saying multiple times, oh, this is a problem, he blames it on himself. The Eagles have a lot of problems right now, and I'm just saying into next season, whether you like them or not, they got a lot of rebuilding to do, Brent. This isn't, lost a player. The Bills have players that are hurt. They're going to come back. It's not like that. It's rebuilding. We're talking the Patriots, how their franchise is right now.
When you go 1-6, you're rebuilding. I would agree. I would agree with that. I think that's important for people to understand when you talk about the offensive line. It's actually, I would argue, the most important part of the football team, right? Yeah. And I always tell people, unless you can draft a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Peyton Manning in the first round, you should just always draft offensive linemen.
Agreed.
Like, if Brent Chapman were general manager in the NFL, he would draft offensive linemen every freaking year in the first round. His offensive line would be first round guys, 7 deep. And that would be it. And we'd hit on some and we'd miss on others. And I'll tell you what, there's teams that have done that. That Jerry Jones did that 3 years in a row. He drafted first round offensive linemen. And guess what? They had the best offensive line for like 7 years in a row.
Hey, I like that conversation. And we're going to talk about that more because I like what you just said a lot. Your offensive line runs your football team, right? Especially on the offensive side, obviously. They run the football team. You can put whatever quarterback you want behind a great offensive line, whether it's Tua, whether it's Jalen Hurts, whether it's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, you go on and on, right? Lamar Jackson, whatever. Behind a great offensive line, you can play very well.
Brandon, how can I get an interview for the Raiders GM job? Do you think you could work that out for me? You're laughing.
You're not going to beat the young lady that's got all those credentials. She's lining up.
That is true. But I do believe I could make a pretty compelling case to the Raiders of why Brent Chapman would make a good general manager.
Well, I think you could too, honestly. I really do. And I think before we let's not go down to you being a general manager. First thing we're
not going to do is draft Tua Tagovailoa.
No, that's what you're not going to do.
No, that's
your
not
first
true.
year.
No, that's not true. Tua is the type of guy that you want in your locker room. I know, and I think I've probably said this before on the show, I know lots of people that know Tua personally, and they cannot speak any higher of his character and who he is as a human being and who he is as a leader. He's a great player. I really am just overall concerned about his health, and I think it's affected how he plays, and I think that's been a piece of what you're about to talk about No, but I'll let you do that.
Well, let's just say this, Brent. Well, Tua is, I believe, a great person, a great teammate. Excuse me. He is a leader. I don't think he is a National Football League leader in the sense of getting everyone motivated to play. I think he had a lot of learning curve coming into the NFL. He didn't have a lot of time to really, like I said, like we always talk about, behind Aaron Rodgers, behind Brett Favre, and do that. But he came in, he played well. He threw for a lot of yards. A lot of that was Tyreek Hill.
We were talking about him for MVP 4 weeks ago.
Tyreek Hill is a big part of that, because you hit Tyreek Hill for 5 yards. He turns it into 80 yards.
I don't know. I think Tua is a great human. I think he's a great player. I think that, when you play 18 games and you beat one team that's 500 or above, 18 games, and you won one game 500 or above, I don't think that's Tua's fault. You're not blaming Tua for that. You're not. That's on the coaches. That's on the whole team. That's all 12 guys or 11 guys on both sides of the ball starting. That's on the whole team. That's a mentality, a mindset. Do you have that killer mindset? That's not Tua, dude.
But these are two different
Tua
people,
can't
Brent.
control that.
These are two different people, okay? And why this is so significant right now is because they are talking about right now the coaching staff. They're talking about Tua's restructure of his contract. Will they let him go? Will they restructure it? And it's hard for people to say, because he threw for a lot of yards and he was up in some people's MVP conversation. But again, like you said, they didn't beat really anybody that was above average team this year, but he's not that guy on the left, Brett. He's not Alabama, the young, fresh guy stepping in. He's not showing up, ready to ball, take a hit on, jump over people. Ever since the last game of his college career, when he was completely injured, had to be picked off the field and go to the Miami Dolphins. Before he even got there, the question was, is he durable? Can he go here? Can he play here? And everybody, Brent, said, I don't know. A lot of teams passed on him, and a lot of people did not want Tua in their locker room, not because of his personality traits, not because he's not a good person, not because his family aren't good people. He's a leader. He's a role model. He's got a kid now. I'm sure he's an excellent father. But as a quarterback in the NFL in 2024, you need to be two-dimensional. And I've been saying this all last year and into this year. And people are like, well, let's get a pocket passer. Someone that can sit there, someone that can just, be the guy who doesn't get hit at all. And I think the problem with this day and age in 2024, the game has evolved. And yesterday I said, you compare to people, I'm not saying trying to put them in front of the best people. I'm just saying Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. There was Dak Prescott. He was in it, but he's out now. So let's just say Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. What do those three people have in common? A, leadership. B, ability to scramble, get outside the pocket and make plays, get first downs with their legs. And the most important is the combination. They're two-dimensional, right? One could pass and you're a leader. One could run, and then it's, let's put it together. Are you two-dimensional or not? And the truth is, those quarterbacks are. And that's why they're winning football games, because you got to put a spy in there. Even Baker Mayfield was running for first downs when he had a sprained ankle, Brent. Tua's not doing anything. He ran for 9 yards this year on his longest run. And before I come off like I'm talking bad, I like Tua. I'd like for him to come on the show and talk. That'd be awesome. I just don't think he's two-dimensional anymore, and that ship has sailed for probably the right reasons.
I feel incredibly bad for Tua. Here's why. All those injuries took place in his third season. So he was still in that low capped rookie contract, right? He hasn't had the big multi-million-dollar year yet. He's going into the 5th year of his contract right now. So he has to play at least next year, and he'll make $23 million, and then he can retire. And and he will. It's fully guaranteed. So he'll make $23 million if he basically gets into training camp. I don't know. Maybe I hate to think this,
I don't
but
think it's going to work.
yeah, I hate to think this, but I'm wondering if, they would, had he been in his second contract and already had a couple $20 million or $30 million seasons, if he would have retired, and he's just going to keep going to get to that point where he can get a couple of those under the belt and then retire.
Will he be a backup quarterback or retire? I think it's smart to retire, but
I would have retired. I would have retired last year, but to my point, he'd only made like $3 or $4 million. I mean, that's insane considering how great he is, and the guys around him are making $40 million a year.
Yep.
And he just didn't make a lot because he was on that rookie contract.
But they would have extended it, Brent. They would have extended it. If they really liked Tua, they would have extended it.
There's rules around it, Brandon.
No, but I'm saying they would have told him. They would have told him, look, we're going to extend it.
No, that's not true. They couldn't extend it. They cannot, by rule, extend it until after
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying on
what
paper.
I'm saying is he already had the concussion problems.
Right.
They aren't going to extend it until he prove he can be healthy. That's the business aspect of this.
No, but that's not what I'm talking about, though. What I'm saying is this. I know what you're saying legally in papers and all that. What I'm saying is all these quarterbacks that they know my last year's coming up. This is what's going on. Most of those quarterbacks on their last season, they know what's going on in that locker room. They know what's going on in the coaching room. They know, do I look like I'm going to be here? Or do I look like I'm going to go somewhere else? And even if you don't sign it yet, they have a good inclination. His inclination right now is, I'm always hurt. And when I'm not hurt, everyone's scared for me. And I don't think in the National Football League you could run around scared. I think last year they put him in, he got hurt, and the Dolphins were scared as shit. Like, why did we put him back in the game? They fired their doctor. They didn't handle this right, apparently, with Tua. And this year, when he's done, becomes a free agent, and they go, who wants to bring Tua in? And to your point, he didn't make a lot of money for an NFL quarterback of his caliber with all these stats. So who will take him as a backup quarterback? Because I don't think he's really going to be next year a starter somewhere else without Tyreek Hill. Because that's where all those yards came from. I mean, realistically. So
that's right.
Anyway, Brent, I like what you said about that. But let's move on to the Cowboys, and let's talk about Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy. I'll let you take the lead on this because I know how much you like McCarthy.
Brandon, do you hear that? Do you hear that? I don't hear anything. It's shocking. It's eerily quiet from Jerry Jones. Where's the news, Brandon? What is going on? What is Jerry doing?
It is very awkward right now in Dallas because
my NILP headquarters is officed at the Star in Frisco, Texas, which is where the Dallas Cowboy headquarters was yesterday, or where it is. And so I'm sitting here talking to people about this and thinking, and a couple people said this to me. They know Jerry, and Jerry is evaluating all of his options. If you don't think Jerry's already called Belichick's agent, Harbaugh's agent, Vrabel's agent, and got a really good sense if he can get one of these guys, that's why he hasn't done anything with Mike McCarthy. He probably views, look, this is how Jerry views it. I don't want to go out and get some young guy that's Ben Johnson or these other guys that have never coached before, right? Or that other guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Anyways, I don't want to get one of these young, unproven guys. I want to go get somebody that's proven to coach. But if I can't get one or two, if I can't get Bill Belichick, if I can't get Jim Harbaugh, if I can't get Mike Vrabel, then I want Mike McCarthy for another year, and I'll try it again next year, right? And so the reason why it's quiet is not good for Mike McCarthy.
It just is so sour right now.
This is the calm before the storm.
And you said very specifically that a lot of this could transpire, but being 12-5 or whatever, or 12-6, whatever he was, what was the record?
12-5.
Okay, consecutive years as the coach like that?
3 consecutive years.
These are Super Bowl. Last time the Cowboys did that, they were Super Bowl caliber football teams, and they lost in the first round again, and it's depressing. They showed up in their lockers to clean out the next day. A lot of the guys said on Twitter, they got in, they got out. I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm stressed out. I want to get out of here before Jerry Jones walks in here and starts cleaning more house. So I think the Cowboys are just like, we're not really rebuilding. We don't really know. We have all the talent. We have a great we have a quarterback. We have running back. We have receivers, CeeDee Lamb. We have Ferguson, the tight end position, stepped up. Michael Parsons. We have great people on the defensive side of the ball. The coaching, there's a problem when you get to the first round lose. And that's what I talk about the Chiefs and the Bills. The coaches are going to come for heavyweight bout. Brett, listen real quick. Devon is asking about, in the chat, Tua's brother. I mean, that man has been in so many teams now, and now he's leaving again, right? He was with Alabama, left, went somewhere. Then he ended up playing for Maryland, and now he's leaving there, and he's going somewhere else. It's like these kids are all over the place. You can't keep track of them, right? I really think he's really not going to be really much of a buzz. I don't know.
I mean, you got to wait and see. They move around a lot. They're trying to find the best situation. Casey Thompson's in his 7th year as a quarterback in college. Brandon, I want your take on this. And we're going to talk about Harbaugh next. But do you agree with me? Do you think that the reason why Jerry hasn't said anything is that Jerry's evaluating his other options? Is that really what you think is going on here, or is he really, quote unquote, evaluating?
Jerry Jones is doing exactly what you're saying. He is probably having some of this conversation with other people, other owners even too. Has he talked to Mike McCarthy? Right? That's the relationship we'll know. Is he hanging out with Mike McCarthy at the Star? Right? Is he talking to him, or are they, hey, take a week off. The season was long. We got our ass beat by the Packers, which was ridiculous. Go enjoy your family for a couple weeks. I'll get back to you in a couple weeks. If that is the conversation, he's gone. Hey, I'll get back to you in a couple weeks. He's gone. If it's your sit down going, show me what went wrong. Like, what did we not have? And if you're right and Jerry Jones loves Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy's gone. If Jerry Jones, in fact, and Mike McCarthy are like, Dak played so bad in the last couple weeks, then...
If Jerry calls Bill Belichick's agent, Vrabel's agent, and Harbaugh's agent, and they all say, we're not interested in going to Dallas,
yeah,
you think he sticks with McCarthy? That's
somebody else.
That's what I'm saying is he's going to make all those calls.
Yep.
And I don't know how the Rooney Rule works in all of this, because Jerry's not somebody that's going to take a chance on this either. Yeah. He's going to want to know if he fires McCarthy that he's got his guy.
We're in, you're out. Whatever. They're going to be in first before he's out. Kind of thing. But let's move on to Jim Harbaugh, because that's part of the conversation with that. So Jim Harbaugh at this point, Brent, which I read last night, has been talking to Michigan. And why this is significant as well is because everyone's like, is Jim Harbaugh going to go to the NFL and coach? Maybe he's going to go to the Chargers. Is he talking to the Falcons? Is he talking to the Cowboys? But now he has gone back to Michigan and said, look, if I come back, I want a firing clause if allegations or violations or suspensions or any of that comes into the picture for Michigan Wolverines in the NCAA, where he cannot coach for one, game, 5 games, 10 games. He wants
what, Brandon? He wants a clause. He wants a clause that they can't fire him, or just a really big buyout.
He wants a clause that they can't fire. It says a firing clause where they can't fire him, and maybe potentially that's probably something that could be negotiated too.
If I were him, I would just put a huge number on it.
Yeah, well, that's part of the deal, right?
Like $50 million. It's $50 million if you want to fire me, bro. That's what I would do if I were him.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing: if you're getting $10 million, say, for the year, and that's your contract offer. We'll give you $10 million to come back next year, coach Michigan, or $15 million, 2 years, coach Michigan, whatever the case may be. They're basically saying, and he's saying, I want to make sure I can't be fired if, in fact, something comes up in allegations and I'm suspended again. But if what you just said is true too, because you're coaching because you want to be there, but you're also coaching because it's your career and it's your income, it's your livelihood. So if he comes up and goes, hey, fine, you want me gone? My contract's 2 years, $15 million. Give me my remaining money and I'm gone. But he wants something in his contract, which tells me that he's still very interested in coaching for Michigan. So
he has interviewed with Atlanta and LA. Yep. So do you think that he's doing that to leverage Michigan? I don't think he is. I don't think he wants to go back to Michigan. I think he wants to go to the pros.
Yeah, but Brent, at any given time, right? It's like you're going to buy a house. You look at one house. No, you're like, hey, I'm looking at that house.
No, you look at all the houses. Yeah.
But listen, I have a house for sale right now in another neighborhood in Miami. I have another home that's for sale in the market. And the reason why I don't like buying in neighborhoods where all the houses look the same, it's a beautiful neighborhood. Near the water, it's beautiful. But when you have a gated neighborhood where you have the same model repetitive, like they keep changing it up, that's not good, because all of a sudden, across the street, one goes for sale, and they're like, hey, that 5-bedroom house or that 4-bedroom house is $50,000 less than yours. You're like, yeah, but I got marble in my bathrooms. Like, I don't care. It's $50,000 less. Exactly. So basically, you look around and you can come back with some feedback. If he's leaning one way or another, I'm sure he's getting pulled by his brother. I'm sure he's getting pulled by his family. I'm sure he's getting pulled by, different directions, his players, his quarterback, right? So I think right now, as long as he doesn't do like Washington did, his coach was like, Washington just jumped with Alabama. Those players are so pissed off. I saw messages from the players at Washington, like, our coach just up and left us here. Like, we brought you to the national championship game, and you helped us get there. We're here, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going Alabama. I get it. He took a position at one of the best universities in the world for sports, for sure. That's great, but he left his whole team. I don't think Harbaugh's doing that. I think he's trying to make a good decision. This is his last move, retire in Michigan eventually, or go to the NFL and rebuild a team that's losing or not competitive in the playoffs and possibly build on his name even more. I would love to see him coach in the National Football League, but I also like him coaching in Michigan. So I'm kind of torn there.
Yeah, we'll see. Right. I think he's going to go to the pros. I think that'll happen pretty quickly, or he'll go back to Michigan. He's not going to play this game for much longer. I think the teams are open. Obviously, Jerry will reach out if he's interested. I would like to talk about what happens when you give a PowerPoint presentation at a press conference. And I think that's right there. Yeah. Now that is Brent Chapman style. See, Brent Chapman as GM, which is our new campaign here on the Brandon Mason Show. Brent Chapman as GM would definitely have a PowerPoint presentation showing all the mistakes the refs made during the game. This is a great move by Mike Brown. Do you want to explain what he did, Brandon?
Awesome. If anybody watching this right now, Mike Brown, okay, Kings coach, gets ejected from the game because he's pissed off that the refs made a mistake. Instead of just complaining and talking smack in the background, he went, pulled his laptop out at a press conference, right, and showed specifically where the problematic situation with the refs came in. They made a bad call. So, but I love this for a lot of reasons, but here's the situation. If you're a coach and you show up, right, and people are like, okay, what happened in the game? What did you see? He's like, look, here's my laptop. I'm going to show you right here. The ref called this. I'm pissed off. This ref called this play, and he has it around to show exactly what he thought was right and wrong.
I thought that laptop was a green screen that you had there. I'm glad to see that it's a real laptop. You actually physically touched it.
Oh, no, this is live production here. This isn't no BS. So here's the deal. I'm looking at this going, I'm on his side. Brent, get up there and show the world, show the NBA, show other people, because they hold you accountable. When you're a coach, they hold you accountable. They'll show clip of you. So why don't we show a clip of the refs and show what happened? So I'm on his side. I think what he did was right. And to be fined $50,000 for showing where you thought the refs were wrong, when obviously they asked you at a press conference what happened. Well, here's what happened.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm very big on not being disrespectful, right? I don't think that was disrespectful.
No,
He
it
was
wasn't.
just explaining what he thought didn't go right. You know, maybe I don't think it was I mean, look, if you're going to make these guys do press conferences at the end of the game and you're going to make them ask questions, then other than swearing or doing something inappropriate that's not part of the game, you can't just be like, you've got to do a press conference after you just lost and got kicked out of the game, but you can't say anything that we don't like, but we don't actually know what we don't want you to say until you say it. That sounds like every corporation in America. All right. Can we talk about something awesome, Brandon? You know how much I love A, collegiate sports, and B, women's collegiate sports.
Yep.
And
All the
so
girls watching right now, like and subscribe. Hit the like button for Caitlin Clark. A woman basketball player has surpassed Brittany Griner, which we'll pull up in a second. Howard will pull up in a second. But wait 1 second. Let's just talk about about Caitlin Clark for a second, Brent. What do you think about her as a person, as a leader?
Yeah, she's awesome, right? She's a great player. I don't know much about her personally, but I know that she's a great leader on the court. She's done great things. She came back. She just moved into 4th place on the all-time basketball career scoring list. And their team is ranked number 2 in the country. She now has 3,306 points. Now, Brandon, what I'm interested in is 3rd place is Jackie Stiles, who's when it was in college, when I was in college. And she has 3,393 points. So she needs 88 points to pass her. I think we can agree she'll get that in a couple games. And 2nd is Kelsey Mitchell. She has 3,400 points. So she's about 100 away from her.
Yep.
I think, I don't know. I mean, if you're averaging 20 points a game, right, that's 5 games, right? So I think it's pretty reasonable to suggest that she'll get into 2nd place all-time scoring, which is pretty impressive. She probably won't reach Kelsey Plum. It's at 3,527 points, but I think this is really impressive. I think this is really cool for women's athletics. I think this is really cool for Iowa and for women's basketball, and this should be celebrated. She's an awesome player. She's a clutch player. She's a leader on the court. She led her team to the national championship game last year. No one expected that.
Who did she pass, Brent? Let's pull it up, Howard. Pull up
Brittany Griner, who also was an awesome. I like Brittany Griner with the buzzed cut. I think she looks pretty baller.
Listen,
she's got the long hair in that pic.
You're watching this right now. Caitlin Clark has surpassed Brittany Griner. Now, the reason why I have this picture is not because I want to shine light on negativity, or not because, wow, Brittany Griner was arrested, she's a bad person over in Russia. That's not why I'm showing this. I'm showing this because a lot of people, you tend to forget, and women's sports is building and growing and doing its thing, and you might forget who people are at times. But Caitlin Clark has just surpassed Brittany Griner, who was an amazing basketball player and still is. But yeah, this is the person we're talking about, who was arrested and was in Russia, was incarcerated, who was an amazing basketball player and still is. But yes, Caitlin Clark has surpassed her in points leading to get to number 4, Brent. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's great to show women's sports. I think it's great to show Caitlin Clark. She's a leader, and I think right now she better make the most money she can in Iowa. I think the collectives and people there can chip in and do what they got to do to make her be successful, because I really believe she'll be more famous now than she will be in the WNBA. I hate to say that, and I hope that changes. I hope that changes, but I really believe that's the truth right now.
I think you're wrong about that. I think things are trending differently. Women's athletics is growing in appeal and in viewership, and and the WNBA specifically, and these top athletes are getting more recognition and brand deals, and I think she'll have a successful career. I don't disagree that she should be able to. You should always be able to monetize your success in the moment, because you just don't know how long that'll last, especially as a collegiate athlete, right?
But how long
so I
do you play in the pros?
But I think she'll be very successful.
Can you pull that up for us, Howard, again? Brittany Griner, take her down. Please pull up Caitlin Clark. Okay, Brett, how long will she play? I mean, this is my thing. She's young, obviously, but I know what you just said. You just said you think that it's trending in a way. Yes, you're right. Women's sports is trending, and part of what we do on here on the show, and a lot of to your credit, is you love giving the spotlight on these women athletes, and you should. But what I'm saying is, when she leaves in her lifetime of playing basketball, not what's coming in the future in the next, maybe 5-10 years, but I'm just saying in women's sports in general, for the time period that we have with Caitlin Clark to get to the WNBA, how long she'll play, she's popular now. College sports is popular. Look at all the people that are playing college sports that are popular. There's other basketball players too, right, that have been popular. And then, right? Like, yeah, she's still good, but Iowa's given a lot of love. The collectives now in basketball or in baseball or football, NAL programs, founder of my NAL pay, they're giving a lot of love to these players. I personally think Caitlin Clark is famous right now, especially at Iowa, especially in basketball, and in women's sports, she's an icon. When she goes to the WNBA, I think people start to lose track of, okay, congratulations to Caitlin Clark. We'll see her.
Well, hopefully some of the trends we've seen recently, I know we got to wrap up, is things like, Sabrina Ionescu was the #1 pick a couple of years ago. She'll be the #1 pick. She got a shoe deal with Nike. Maybe Caitlin gets a shoe deal with Nike. These are the type of things that will help raise the profile of women's athletics and women's sports, though. I would just say keep doing what you're doing, Caitlin. I think it's awesome, and I'm excited to watch the future with you and women's athletics grow and women's basketball. All right, Brandon.
Thanks for having me on the show today, Brent. Every day, 10 o'clock. We'll see you tomorrow, bright and early. Guys, thanks for tuning into the Brandon Mason Show. We love to have you on with us every single day, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been great today. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills. We got a lot going on. More matchups tomorrow as we dive into them in the playoffs. The wild card's done. It's playoff football season. We're going to dive right into that. Remember, as we come on here, all sports, football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, women's sports, doesn't matter. We hit them all. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Until next time.